Hey, this is your host, and today's question is, what happened to John Darwin? We're going to look at the strange circumstances surrounding his disappearance in 2002, find out what police believe happened to him, and then reveal the surprising truth about his vanishing. It's going to be another great episode, so stay tuned. John Darwin was an accountant who lived in Beechwood Avenue in the town of Connah's Quay in North Wales with his wife Penelope. The couple had 2 sons, Peter and Daniel. Life was good for them, and there was nothing that suggested that anything unusual was going to happen. However, on August 1, 2002, John got on his bike and set off for work at the Rovers Return pub in the nearby village of Hawarden. But he never made it. At around 7:30 a.m., a motorist spotted John's abandoned silver Peugeot 206 in a lay-by on the A5119 Chester to Holywell Road, not far from where he lived. The car was parked perfectly legally, and there was nothing about it that immediately raised any suspicion. For his part, John was nowhere to be seen. He had vanished without a trace, and nobody had any idea what could have happened to him. His wife became concerned when he didn't come home that evening, and she reported him missing to the police. This was very out of character. John would never miss an evening meal with his family, and if he was ever delayed at work, he would always call to let her know. The police launched a large-scale investigation, but were unable to come up with any clues as to what had happened to him. As the days turned into weeks, the police grew increasingly baffled. They found no sign of a struggle. There were no witnesses, and nobody had seen or heard anything suspicious. Even more strangely, there were no signs that John had been the victim of foul play. The police searched all the usual places that missing people are often found, derelict buildings, ponds, and canals, but there was no sign of John. Every day, hundreds of people turned out to help search for him. But despite their efforts, there was no sign of the missing man. The lack of answers led to speculation in the local community. Some people believed that John had run off with another woman. Others believed he had taken his own life. But these were just theories, and there was no evidence to support either of them. As time went by, the investigation into John's disappearance went cold, but the case was never officially closed. And every now and again, the police would make an appeal in the media asking for fresh information. In 2008, John's wife, Anne, died believing that he was dead. She never gave up hope that he would turn up safe and sound, but she also knew that he would have contacted her if he possibly could have. Then in 2011, 9 years after John had disappeared, a man walking his dog on the beach at Formby uncovered something remarkable. It was a human skull. The police were called, and they soon determined that it was John Darwin's. This was confirmed by DNA testing. But how did the skull get there? It was so far away from where he lived, and there was no other remains. Was he the victim of a horrific crime that was never solved? Or had he taken his own life and somehow the bones had become separated? The police revisited the case, hoping to find answers, but once again, they hit a brick wall. Then, 5 years later in 2016, a TV documentary offered a possible explanation. The program was called The Hunt for Raoul Moat, which was about a man who went on a shooting spree in the northeast of England in 2010, killing 1 man and injuring several others. The police believed that he might have kidnapped John Darwin. After viewing CCTV footage of Raoul Moat in a local shop, it emerged that he was wearing John Darwin's distinctive watch. But this was about as far as the link between the 2 men went, and there was no real motive for the murder. The police never charged Moat with John's murder, and he was never able to provide any information about what happened to him. In 2021, another TV program called The Missing looked into the unsolved cases of 3 missing men. One of those men was John Darwin. A former detective spoke about the case, saying that it remained one of the most baffling missing persons investigations that he had ever worked on. He said that the police had investigated every possibility and had spoken to thousands of people, but nobody had been able to shed any light on what happened to John. The ex-detective also revealed that the police believed that John was dead, but they had never recovered any further remains, and they didn't know why Moat had supposedly been wearing his watch. So the case was still open, and the mystery of what had happened to John remained. And now we can reveal the truth behind John's mysterious disappearance. On September 3, 2002, John Darwin withdrew £25,000 from his bank account. 2 days later, he withdrew another £10,000. He also withdrew £10,000 on September 12th. His wife had no idea why he was taking out all this money because he had always been a frugal person, and they didn't really need any extra cash. In fact, they were doing quite well financially. John was earning £40,000 a year as an accountant, and in 2001, he and his brother had inherited £35,000 from their mother. But it wasn't just the withdrawals from his current account that was suspicious. John had also cashed in his life insurance policies. Why would he do this if he intended to come back and see his family? If that wasn't strange enough, on November 18, 2002, almost 3 months after he disappeared, John used his debit card at a cash machine to withdraw £500. How could he have done this if he was dead? Well, here's the thing. John Darwin never disappeared. He faked his own death so that he could claim £470,000 in life insurance for his 2 sons. He then planned to run away with his secret girlfriend, but he needed a lot of money for that. So he decided to fake his own death and collect the insurance money. How he managed to fool the police for so long is anyone's guess. Maybe he destroyed his phone and left it near where his car was found, so that it would appear that he had left his home that morning and never returned. Perhaps he told someone where he was going, and that person helped cover up his tracks. Whatever happened, he did a good job of disappearing, even though he was wearing his wedding ring when the supposed sighting of him was captured on CCTV cameras. When the police found John's skull in 2008, they had no way of knowing that he was alive. Otherwise, they would have arrested him on the spot. The theory that he was murdered by Raoul Moat was intriguing, but there was never any concrete evidence to support it. When asked why he killed John Darwin, Moat replied, "I don't know. I've never killed him." In 2012, John Darwin appeared in court and pleaded guilty to fraud. He was sentenced to 6 years and 8 months in prison. As he was led away in handcuffs, he shouted, "I'm innocent," but no one believed him. After his release from prison, John Darwin kept a low profile and changed his name to John Jones. He moved to a small village in North Yorkshire, where he lived quietly. It seems that he will never reveal the truth about what happened in 2002, but perhaps he doesn't need to. The guilty look on his face as he left the dock told everyone who he was. Thanks for watching. What do you think really happened to John Darwin? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe. It's a big help.